We are going to talk about UFOs. So my opening question for you, Vienna, is where did you find this article?
This was written by um a dude who's actually he's a like DC policy staffer dude. Um I think. I don't know. He's some bullshit. Um but he's actually quite big on Tumblr in like left-ish leaning stuff. Um and he wrote this article. So that was kind of like where I found it. I was just like, huh, this seems interesting. And I got like halfway through it and posted it on our Discord, and you said, "Hey, let's do this." So that I haven't finished the article. It seemed interesting though.
I mean, it does seem very interesting. To me, it's like I just with the guy because like when I was like scanning through some of it, and I landed on the fact that like so most of his articles just seem like, as you said, like DC policy stuff, and then he had one of his articles is like, I watched 200 horror films in 2010. This is how they stack. Which is like, who is this guy? UFOs are clearly not real. Now Bigfoot though. Well, are UFOs real? The thing that I find interesting about this article, and we'll get into it, is like I haven't finished it either, but I do like thinking about this kind of stuff. So it's curious to see where it goes, especially because like I don't know because of your age whether you were you a big X Files watcher at all.
I'm 90% sure X Files was off the air by the time I was like 5 years old.
Well, yeah, because I think its final
But it
season
ended
was
like
like
2001, right?
yeah, 2001, 2002.
Okay, so yeah, I was like 3 or 4. Um, I have watched maybe 2 or 3 seasons on Netflix,
Okay,
probably around 5 years ago.
okay, yeah. So there was a plot line. I think it's season 5 where they like sort of like turn the whole thing on its head, and so the idea is like for the first few seasons they're discovering the sort of conspiracy to cover up aliens, but then season 5 they try to play this trick to be like, no, that was the government just feeding you a bunch of information to hide the fact that they're experimenting on new technologies, right? And so it's like the alien conspiracy was itself a conspiracy to hide you from like the real truth.
See, I don't think this doesn't go that far
Yeah.
from what I had read. Like it's more of a like the US is good at making use of kind of the useful idiot thing, and much more of a like it's a lot more convenient for people to believe that UFOs are a thing than it is to like have to in any way admit about like weapons experimentation. Um, but yeah, like it's from what I read, it was like quite historical, um,
Well, that's like yeah,
and
that's
pretty good.
yeah, no, it's not a slight against him. It's just like the thrust of this article reminded me of that season of the X Files because it is that like a trick, like as if like the real psyop the entire time was that that aliens were real, you know, when really we're
Mm.
hiding all this like technology stuff. But we will get into it.
Yeah,
We'll see how it
it's not
goes.
that far off, honestly.
See how it goes. Brett, this is Brett. I guess we can. I'll
Brett.
zoom in and then we'll share the link. Brett.
Yeah, and do you want to share the screen with me so that I can
Yeah, sure.
see where we are?
I would love to.
Thank you. How kind and polite.
There
Are
we
there
go.
such things?
Here we go. This June, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence (ODNI) released a report on recent military sightings of unidentified flying objects. UFOs, which the military calls UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena. I do like that. A new wave of public interest in UFOs was recently sparked by 3 leaked videos, now verified by the Defense Department, in which Navy pilots filmed strange objects that appeared to operate differently than any known aircraft. Oh, we got links to videos. Maybe should we check it out? Hell yeah. This is so context.
Oh, got it! Roger, there's troubleshooting. Did you box moving target? No, I took an auto track. Oh, okay. Oh my gosh, dude. Wow, look at it fly!
Like, what? That was the first one. But part of me is just like, I don't know. I don't even know how to, like, interpret that. Like, I don't know how the systems work to tell whether or not this is something like,
I mean, I think that's kind of the point of, like, the US declassifying these sorts of videos too, though, right? Where it's like, nobody knows enough about what they're talking about, but it also is like a, whoa, there's something spotted, and they're not saying what it is, or it's not immediately identifiable.
yeah. I mean, I'll probably have more to. I was going to say something, but I'll probably have more to say as we get into the article, just about, like, my own, because I've been someone who's been deeply interested in UFOs forever. I used to have more knowledge. I mean, it's been a while since I've read this stuff, all about, like, debunking these kind of videos, like what this phenomena might be and how to interpret it. There's tons of people that, like, get into that shit. Anyways, let's see there's 2 more evidences here. Here we go.
Dude, this is a fucking
Hello,
drone, bro.
Nita.
There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude.
They're going against the wind.
That's
It's
not
just rocket
LNS though, is it?
thumbsticks.
It's all dude of LNS, dude. Well, if there's like look at that thing. It's rotating.
Yeah, then this is the last one, I guess. It's a pigeon from Wacky Races. Part of it, like me, is like, again, I don't know how the system picks up objects. So is it, like, just picking up on, like, visual information or other information? Because if it's just registering visual information on the camera itself, like, could it be picking up dust on the lens or something like this? Like, this is what I'm curious about.
I think so. Like, I think that it is actually something that they're tracking, and the thing is too, like, you can tell by the voices that are doing this, like, they're just like boots, like they're grunts type of thing, where it's just like they don't know shit, they don't get told anything, they know how to operate this equipment, and they're just like talking amongst themselves as they do it because it's a job and they're bored out of their minds, and they're probably like 18 or 19, like.
Remember, isn't, like, this, it's a really common thing too. If I'm not mistaken, the band Foo Fighters takes their name from this, because Foo Fighters were like an aerial phenomenon in World War II, where pilots were seeing things that they couldn't explain, and I think they largely attribute it to, like, hallucinations or something like this, or that it was. I think that was, like, one psychological explanation, a more physical explanation. Physical in terms of, like, the natural, like, out there world, had to do with, like, electrostatic in the atmosphere that, like, was being mistaken as, like, flying objects and stuff like this. But again, I don't know how that. I know nothing about military technology to know, like, what exactly their machines are doing, let alone, as you said, whether the grunt in the seat is qualified to analyze what he's picking up, you know?
I mean, and he's not. That's kind of the thing. Like,
no, they never are.
Like, regardless of what he's looking at, sorry, he's not qualified to identify it unless it's like, hey, that's a jet that looks like one of ours. Hey, that's a jet that's not one of ours.
I mean, Nick says it sounds like they're arse trolling, but like to me, it sounds less like trolling and more like, I don't know. Even when I think back to like in my younger days and seeing weird shit in the skies and being like, "Oh, holy shit, look at that weird thing," you know, it sounds more like that than like trolling.
No, yeah, it like this sounds like fucking bored teenage workers seeing anything exciting and therefore being like, oh my god, this is something to fucking talk about or
Yeah.
do. Like,
Yeah, exactly. And Livy, like Foo Fighters were also did do a concert for an AIDS denialist, but the uh their name is also a UFO phenomenon. And yes, Tom DeLonge from Blink 182 is also a bit weird when it comes to UFO stuff. Maybe Blink 182 was also a psyop from. So they had writers in the CIA that crafted the songs for them just to get them popular enough so that they could send Tom out there to spread alien conspiracy stuff to hide from the fact that they were developing technology. How deep does the rabbit hole? I will continue the article. The U.S. military has grown increasingly open about internal UFO sightings in recent years, even creating a UAP task force to investigate the reports. For many, this has been reason for excitement, offering new knowledge about the mysterious sightings and perhaps even foreshadowing the reveal of alien visitors. A closer examination of the government's behavior surrounding UFOs, however, suggests another possibility. We are not seeing aliens above us, but our own government. I will say too, the funny thing about this like being increasingly open, because you had I think it was even like Hillary Clinton back in 2016, like people pressured her to make a comment about whether she would like, are you guys kidding me? Release the release the UFO information, or the same thing with Trump. And hello,
yeah, no,
Mayo Monkey, thanks for
that's sorry, that's like why the DoD declassified this, I think, was because Trump was like, we're gonna do the UFO aliens or whatever.
First time chat from viewer? Interesting. I've never seen Twitch do that before. It gave it like a big like a neat looking thing. Weird. All right. Hello, Mayo Monkey. Throughout the Cold War, the U.S. government used popular fascination with alien spacecraft as a cover story to hide military experiments that were spotted by unauthorized eyes. This approach successfully muddied the waters for the public and misled overly curious UFO researchers, thus keeping many developmental projects a secret. It also had the unintended consequence of helping turn aliens into a major part of American culture. See, this, I think I stopped when I reading after this paragraph, and I was like, I'm going to watch the rest or read the rest during the stream. But the thing that interested me here, because there's a lot of assertions here that aren't supported, and I'm curious what evidence he has or further in the article. Like the idea of like that there has been these cover-ups in the past, and I'm just like, okay, I'd like to see the evidence.
It talks about it.
Cool. And the other one is like, I don't know. I mean, aliens, like, this is probably like a back and forth sort of thing rather than like a unidirectional thing, I guess, in terms of affecting the culture. But we'll see. We'll see what he has to say about that. If he says anything about it. Keffels was thanking new chatters all night. Oh. Oh, so it's like a new thing. I see what you're saying. Interesting. Well, new chatters is cool. Why not? I approve. This strategy is not a well-coordinated conspiracy, nor is it a formalized process which most government officials are aware of. Instead, lying about UFOs slowly and haphazardly became a favorite trick of military and intelligence agencies during periods of heavy experimentation with airborne technologies. Time and time again, these agencies have kept their projects hidden by quietly encouraging a belief that any evidence of their experiments is actually evidence of aliens. There is no reason to believe that this tactic has been abandoned during today's new wave of UFO disclosures, and there are several reasons to believe the tactic is still in use. And then it says this article is broken up into 5 brief sections, the first 3 covering history, the last 2 covering the present day. My case is cumulative in that each section can be read on its own, but the case is strongest when the sections are read together. And so these are the things that he's going to hit on. One is the Roswell Myth, which explores the 1947 UFO landing at Roswell. Everyone should know what that is. A well-known mystery with a little-known explanation. This sets the scene for the following sections. Closing the Blue Book examines the conflict within the government about how to handle UFO sightings from the 1940s to the 1960s, pitting the secrecy of Area 51 against the transparency of Project Blue Book. Project Blue Book was like a thing that they were releasing, linking together a bunch of the conspiracy stuff. Oh, someone redeemed streamer shades. Okay, fine. We're doing it.
Yeah, Nick did.
Yeah, Project Blue Book was the thing they released linking to a bunch of like evidence of UFOs.
Yeah, it explains. The article gets into that as well.
There you go. You're welcome. And then you highlighted a thing. That's still. I tried rubbing smudges. My kids like to play with these glasses. They got smudges on. Well, hopefully that fixed it a little bit. I might even feed the fire. Unpacks a stunning government disinformation operation centered in New Mexico during the 1970s and 1980s, an operation that is still largely unheard of. In fact, I was going to say, I don't even know what they're referring to on this one. That's new to me. Of Men and Drone Swarms brings us into modern times, applying what can be learned from this history to the ODNI report and some recent developments on the edge of the military-industrial complex. And 5, Operational Surprise introduces us to one possible source of government-approved disinformation today, and ends with some brief conclusions. As a final note, the theory presented here is alien agnostic.
I love that. I love that phrasing.
That's amazing. It takes no position on extraterrestrial life or visitation and is compatible with any position on those issues. Rather than attempting to create a comprehensive theory capable of explaining all UFO phenomena, this theory aims to reveal important truths about government secrecy, bureaucracy, and the military-industrial complex, which are vital for anyone interested in finding the truth. What says? How about in the chat? How many here are alien agnostic, or are we like alien skeptics, or alien believers? And what are you, Vienna? How would you characterize yourself?
I think alien life exists. I don't think it exists. I don't think it's hanging out on Earth. Also, this is a brief aside. If I redeem streamer shades now, do you switch shades or do you take those ones off?
Yeah, maybe I didn't conceive of any rules. Maybe when I get exhausted and I take them off, then you can redeem another one and I'll put on another pair. Maybe I could go find a new pair after that happens. I did not think of the rules here.
Yeah, I was just curious. Double shades would be good.
Double shades? I don't know.
I think you should make that 100,000 points after tonight.
Double shades?
Yeah.
Yeah, so my thoughts on the alien stuff, I guess we got a wide array. We got alien believers, but far away. And we got agnostic believer. I guess I should have specified the visitation aspect of it. Because I think it would be hard to think that we are the only life in the universe. But it's another question to what extent other life has like evolved to interstellar travel and whatnot. But there probably definitely is life somewhere in this universe. I remember the moment I know where I was like, no, there's probably no UFOs visiting us, was I was taking a like high school science class, but it was like planetary science, something like this in high school. And I remember the way my teacher at the time like presented this information to us was like he drew on like the chalkboard like to scale like the distance between like Earth and Mars to highlight that like we already know this gap here is like a pretty big gap, but like he drew it so like to scale it's like really close here. It was like the next inhabitable planet in like the other galaxy was like way on the other side of a wide room chalkboard, like so far away, and then it's like traveling that distance is going to be insane. That like even like we can't even conceive whether or not technology like that would ever exist. But if it did exist,
You can't Star Trek
it would be Star Trek
Star Trek
communism.
Voyage very far.
And Star Trek communism will be brought to you by Diet Pepsi.
Yes.
There, I did it. Here, and I'll... Cheers. You can't Star Trek communism very far? Is that what you said? Or you can't voyage it
You
very
can't Star Trek Voyage very far without some sort of drink fueling you. You can't make it from the Delta to the Alpha Quadrant. You can't. If you are on a space station orbiting Bajor and the wormhole to the Gamma Quadrant, you need a good drink from Quark's. And Quark, damn it, Quark serves root beer. What the fuck is our thing not root beer?
Quark also serves Diet
Can we watch
Pepsi just for the sake of this bit.
Can we? Yeah, exactly. Can we watch the DS9 clip about root beer, please?
It's gonna get us copyrighted strike. Automatically.
No, it won't.
Not here on Twitch. When I
No.
post this on YouTube later, it definitely will. I always get copyright strikes, even when I include like tiny little. I learned this too. We played a clip from Mitchell and Webb, just a tiny little clip. Somebody recommended us do a Mitchell and Webb thing, and I did it, and it was like 10 seconds long, and we got flagged for it.
Can we watch the DS9 root beer clip at the end of this article, and then you can just not post
Yes.
the DS9 bit?
Yes.
There we go. This is for our live audience only, YouTube. If you cared about us, you would watch us on Twitch.
Long story short, yes, I'm alien agnostic in terms of them visiting, or not. No, in terms of them existing in the universe, I'm firmly in the camp that I do not think we're being visited by alien UFOs. That is generally where I sit. Even though I love alien stuff, I'm a big fan of alien stuff.
I'm a believer in the Dark Forest.
All right, number 1, the Roswell Myth. In July 1947, a UFO crashed on a farm near Roswell, New Mexico. The military first described the object as a flying disc, only to later claim that it was a weather balloon. A local newspaper, however, decided to use a newly popular term to describe the object: a flying saucer. Ever since, the Roswell incident has been a staple of our modern understanding of UFOs, and as we will see in later sections, this popularity was no accident. Though not well known to...
Hi, Famous Horse.
Oh, hello, Famous Horse. It's going to be Famous Horse's birthday on Wednesday. Send some birthday love to Famous Horse. I think they said their birthday was going to be Wednesday. Unless they're a liar. Maybe it's all the role-playing they do. Though not well known to the public, the reality of the Roswell incident was spelled out plainly by a 1995 Air Force report, released nearly half a century after the landing itself. The UFO at Roswell was an experimental balloon, part of the secretive Project Mogul, which sought to monitor Soviet missile testing using long-range sound waves. Indeed, the remote deserts of southern New Mexico surrounding Roswell were host to countless military experiments in this era, including the world's first nuclear explosion in 1945. In a report following the Roswell incident, Project Mogul researchers working out of Alamogordo Army Airfield noted that I'm pretty sure I got that right. Alamogordo?
Sounds right.
Noted they had already been collecting falling debris from the balloons before the incident took place. Reporting that balloons have been descending outside of the area in the vicinity of Roswell, New Mexico. In fact, the recovery crews often listed Listen to broadcasts of UFO reports to assist them in their tracking operations. That's hilarious.
Hmm.
So it's like you had like people out there being like, I spotted another UFO! And then the person at the base is like, oh, there's one of our balloons again.
Yeah, basically. Just like patiently waiting for somebody to report a UFO so you know where your balloon is.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
As soon as the researchers had completed their test and left town, one final balloon fell to the ground and was soon found by a local rancher. The device was brought to a nearby military outpost in Roswell rather than Alamogordo, outpost from which it was launched. Officials at Roswell were uninvolved with the project and unfamiliar with the device, so they simply described it to the press as a flying disc. Yet among the wreckage was a piece of sonar equipment, which, if recognized, could easily have revealed the purpose of the experiment to both the public and foreign military intelligence. Once the government realized what had happened, they covered their tracks. 3 days after the balloon's discovery, a local newspaper ran a story with information provided by a military officer who lied about the balloon's purpose and the people involved. But among these lies were a number of facts, launch times, altitudes, etc., which were accurate. They created, in the words of one military official involved, a cover story. I wonder what these links lead to. I mean, we're not going to be fact checking this stuff. Yeah, these are like.
Oh my god.
This is a 994 page document.
Wow.
Let's go. We're reading the whole thing. Oh my god.
That'll be a new channel point thing. We'll read one page from the Roswell report. Eventually it can be edited together into a full audiobook.
Like, I get blogs are nice and all, but like at least put a page citation here. Unless the whole document is sufficient for a source.
I wonder if there'll be some sort of bibliography type thing at the end that might be better. I don't know. You don't have footnotes so far, so.
I am curious too the way they describe this because they have launch times and altitudes, etc. So like, I don't know. I just wish they expanded on like what were the facts and what were the lies. So they gave a bunch of facts that they actually launched this thing, but then we're trying to lie that it was like we don't know what it is.
No. This is because they said above. They said like the balloon's discovery, and then they talk about lying about the balloon's purpose. So they said it was a weather balloon. But they gave accurate launch times and altitudes. They just didn't explain what. They said that it was,
what it really was, because
a
they were saying it was a weather balloon. Right.
Yeah.
I guess we're taking a break from reading this. We're gonna read I'm just gonna finish this last paragraph, and then I'll read your mouth. This deceptive tactic seamlessly...
I was gonna say, do that.
This deceptive tactic, seamlessly blending fact and fiction into one indistinguishable narrative, allowed the military to further complicate the public's understanding of what really happened. Roswell showed the military just how useful the form of disinformation. My words. Roswell showed the military just how useful this form of disinformation could be. True.
Do you want me to read Mao, since you're having...
Oh no, I've got to read it in appropriate order here. I may have to take off the streamer shades to read the Mao though, because it's dark print. This is just or maybe this is now the encouragement to get someone to spend another 10,000 points. Here we go. Okay, we got that one. I think feel like we haven't gotten to this one yet. So we're gonna do this is for you, Nom, since you redeemed this. Okay? In lieu of a page from the Roswell report. Yes, okay. So instead of reading the Roswell report, we're gonna get a quote from Chairman Mao here. We must have faith in the masses, and we must have faith in the party. These are two cardinal principles. If we doubt these principles, we shall accomplish nothing. And that is on the question of agricultural cooperation, July 31st, 1955.
Book is so funny, I gotta say.
I love how this is how they front end this like book of quotes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's also just like they pull quotes from literally just like fucking any article that he has written that it's like, ah, that one's a banger. And then just like a complete divorce from context and
Well, it reminds
boom,
me
there
too
we go.
because like what we're dealing with here is this is on the question of agricultural cooperation.
Yeah.
So this could have been on like
Mao, famous for his success in agriculture.
and what is he saying in terms of the success of the agriculture? He's just playing, please have faith in us. Have faith in the party.
What year was that one from? Did it say?
1955.
Ooh.
Which is late. So that tells me it's
No, that's
Isn't
pretty.
it?
Yeah, it was only 6 years after they took power.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's
So
the
like it would have
oldest
been
quote so far that
this.
we've read.
Yeah, I think
That's
this
what I.
that essay was probably at the start of like the Great Leap Forward campaign. So he didn't fully know that him and maybe much of the party didn't know that much about agriculture yet.
No.
That having been said, was the last famine in China. I will say that was a rough one.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, maybe that's what he was getting fed when Stalin was sending him Lyshenko. It's just like, have faith in this guy. He's gonna help you. All right, number 2,
Yeah, probably.
closing the Blue Book. Roswell helped push the idea of alien spacecraft into the public imagination, and UFO sightings grew more common in its aftermath. But it was far from the first such incident. One civilian pilot in Washington state had even spotted a flying saucer 2 weeks before Roswell. As excitement grew around these and other sightings, small communities of independent UFO researchers, also known as UFOologists, emerged. Meanwhile, the military created Project Blue Book to investigate the unexplained reports which it had been receiving both during and after World War II. I mean, he's probably going to get into it, but Project Blue Book was something that a lot of like the quote unquote ufologists really wanted to get out and wanted the government to leak all the information.
Hmm.
Headed in their early days by the open-minded Air Force Captain Edward Ruppelt. Projects like
Ruppelt.
Ruppelt.
Repelled.
Projects like Blue Book made rapid headway into investigating pilot UFO sightings. At the same time, however, the modern U.S. security state was taking shape within the government following the end of World War II, leading to a struggle between two different bureaucratic approaches to the UFO issue. Project Blue Book sought transparency and fact-finding. The intelligence community sought secrecy and control of the narrative. Recommended by our friends at the CIA, wink! A 1953 government review known as the Robertson Panel chose to de-emphasize UFO research. The panel doubted that UFO reports were credible threats, but instead worried that belief in UFOs could be dangerous. As a large number of false reports could potentially overload military communications. While downplaying and debunking rumors to the public, the panel's report also suggested manipulating ufologist groups to their advantage. They should be watched because of their potentially great influence on mass thinking if widespread sightings should occur. The apparent irresponsibility and the possible use of such groups for subversive purposes should be kept in mind. Interesting. I mean, this part wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. I mean, they infiltrated like knitting groups and like all kinds of stuff.
Oh yeah.
CIA, a bunch of fun people. Sorry, I forgot to put my streamer shades back on.
Oh, I thought you weren't going to. I thought you were gonna say you said somebody else would have to redeem.
Maybe, but I was enjoying
Sure.
it. Like it's.
I have no complaints.
Reading, I find like the readings. Like at first, I thought like reading streams would be harder with the shades, but it like blocks some of the screen light. I think my eyes were hurting.
Okay.
Ruppelt felt that the panel's findings had obstructed his investigation, complaining, "We're ordered to hide sightings when possible, but if a strong report does get out, we have to publish a fast explanation." After being reassigned from the project, he responded in 1956 by publishing the Report on Unidentified Flying Objects, thus bringing the military term UFO into the public vocabulary. The book detailed his experiences with Project Blue Book and lent credibility to the UFO phenomenon in the early days of the US-USSR space race. 4 years later, however, the book's second edition contained new chapters in which Ruppelt was far more pessimistic about the possibility of alien visitors, even calling UFOs a space-age myth. This edition included a revealing story about the testing of flashing red strobe lights on planes. Though now used on practically all aircraft, the earliest experiments with them always produced the same results. People within miles, including other pilots, called in UFO reports. Now these strobe lights are common, and no one even bothers to look up. Interesting. And also true.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, man. The CIA had its own motivations for bringing Blue Book to a halt. In 1955, the CIA and the Air Force jointly began secret testing of the Lockheed U-2 air surveillance jet capable of flying at record high altitudes. Their initial testing site was a remote stretch of Nevada desert called Groom Lake, better known today as Area 51. There it is. There it is. We have access to the secret facility. Look at it. Look at it.
We can see it. That's it. 51.
Clearly, there's alien bodies over here.
Count the buildings. There's 911 of them.
Oh my god. I thought you were going to say 51.
Yeah, I know. I would too, but it looks like more than 51.
Yeah.
So I jumped to the next big number. It wasn't 69 or 420.
Not real? It's a movie studio? Yeah, you're probably right, Livy. What were we thinking? That's the Marvel soundstage? I thought that's where they faked the moon landing. Wasn't that another conspiracy theory?
Wasn't that Universal?
Maybe. Either way, it was directed by Stanley Kubrick. I know that that's part of the conspiracy. Whenever and wherever they...
George Lucas did it, actually.
George Lucas?
Yeah.
No. I don't think George Lucas could have kept his mouth shut, to be honest.
Where do you think he got the inspiration for Star Wars?
Where did Stanley
Area 51.
Kubrick get the idea for Space Odyssey?
I have not seen a single Stanley Kubrick movie so far as I know.
You've never seen 2001: A Space Odyssey?
Nope. I knew that was a book though.
Yeah, that's why they think, because I feel like the moon landing happened before Star Wars, did it not? And so like the idea of like Kubrick doing it, because 2001: A Space Odyssey had already come out, so that's why people speculated about that. Whenever and wherever they tested, UFO sightings rose. When a U-2 had to make an emergency landing at Kirtland Air Force Base, an air policeman saw the pilot emerge from the futuristic vehicle in a strange suit and remarked that the pilot looked like a man from Mars. It's also like, this is what I was saying with the cultural phenomenon being like a multi-directional thing. Like there was tons of stuff too with people who believed that there was like Mars colonies and would like use their telescopes and were mapping out like alien roadways on the planet, so like for how the aliens got from like city to city on Mars's surface. That shit was going on for years. In response to these sightings, the CIA encouraged rumors while the Air Force deflected questions. Project Blue Book easily connected the dots between the reported UFO sightings and U-2 flight records, but knew they couldn't reveal the aircraft to the public. Many were fooled, but a few particularly observant civilian ufologists said something was afoot. One even wrote to the CIA in 1958 to correctly accuse them of being responsible for the flying saucer sightings of the last decade. The existence of the U-2 wasn't revealed for another 2 years, when the Soviet Union shot one down over Sverdlovsk and captured a pilot from
Sverdlovsk.
You did it.
Yep. I just sounded out the letters that were there.
See, let me try to sound them out. Sverdlovsk.
Sverdlovsk.
Yeah, Sverd.
Sverdlovsk.
word.
Sv.
Stargate? I wish Stargate was real. And yeah, the pilot was captured in Kentucky, was born in Kentucky. By then, the U-2 had already flown other surveillance missions over China, Indonesia, and the Middle East. I want to go back and watch Stargate now that famous sources said that. Lucas ripped off
I've never seen that one.
the plot of a Kurosawa movie, The Hidden Castle, for Star Trek. Interesting. Oh, for Star Wars. Yeah. Yeah, Stargate is interesting. They had a TV series for a while too. I don't think I've ever watched the TV series. The original movie was pretty good. More than half of all UFO sightings in the late 1950s and 1960s were really sightings of the U-2 and other similar experimental jets, according to CIA operatives involved. I am curious about that. More documents. How big is this document cache? 392 pages.
Nice.
With some.
I don't know if you can link to specific pages in PDFs though, so that might be part of the issue.
Yeah, that's why you do a bracket and you type it out like a pro.
Well, he might have done that at the end. We don't know. We haven't got to the end.
Flying far higher and faster than
He didn't do it at the end.
No. That would just be more confusing. Flying far higher and faster than any known aircraft, these planes could not be explained by contemporary standards. The SR-71 Blackbird, for example, still holds speed records. According to Hugh Slater, commander of Area 51 from 1964 to 68, there were 2,850 test flights of the experimental Oxcart under his watch. And in his words, that's a lot of UFO sightings. What I'm trying to get at too is like with like questioning this is not to say that like some of this information is incorrect. I think part of it is it would be interesting for me to know to what like how these stories were reported out there, like what was the context, because the other element of this is like we talk about how those fighter pilots in the videos we were watching were a bunch of grunts that were just like not really knowing what was going on and laughing at the phenomenon they were seeing, and we would like to think that there's like common mythos about like CIA agents being intelligence and how like having like their wits about them, but like CIA projects also fall through and are like, you know what I mean? So it's just as liable that like these people coming out saying that like, oh yeah, most of the sightings were all like our ship. They could just be pulling shit out of their ass too, you know? Or just being someone who like heard something at the like the water cooler, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, considering wasn't the CIA the one that was like dosing their own people with LSD all throughout like the 60s and 70s too? So it was like, yeah. No, they're not.
Yeah.
They are not infallible. Which is good.
Wasn't there like one I was listening to some newscast recently and they were talking about a case where some CIA agent like tried to like pretend he was James Bond and started sleeping with like a Russian spy and like all the while claiming like he went above his superiors to do this, but was claiming he was doing it for the US, like he wasn't actually like giving them information, like he was trying to get information from them.
Yeah.
It's like all
Hell
these
yeah.
people are weird. In the end, Secrecy and Disinformation won. Project Blue Book was ultimately shut down in 1970, while the U-2 is still in service today. Of the 12,618 cases that Blue Book reviewed, only 5.6% remained unidentified. However, the CIA's victory would have long-term consequences. A 1997 government study noted that their deception added fuel to the later conspiracy. I mean, so then the question is, like, to what extent that was, like, intentional or just the fault of them trying to come up with, like, ways to deflect from their research or whatnot. MK Ultra. That was that was covered for recreational usage. People just tripping balls. Oh god. Yeah, the men who stare at goats stuff is pretty fascinating too. I heard the movie
It's
sucked.
a very funny movie.
Did you enjoy it? I heard it
Oh,
sucked,
really?
but yeah.
I mean, I probably watched it as like a 12 or 13-year-old, but
No, I'm more familiar. I read the book by, I think it's John Ronson who wrote it. John Ronson's a good writer. I might even feed the fire. In 1980, ufologist Bill Moore helped repopularize the events at Roswell by co-authoring the Roswell Incident, which argued that an alien spacecraft landed at Roswell and that the government was in contact with the aliens. Hell yeah. The book sent ripples through the growing ufologist community, as would Moore's 1987 publication of the Majestic 12 Papers, which allegedly proved the existence of a secret government organization that monitored the aliens. Funny, the thing that I love about reading about UFO stuff is like, and this is the one thing that I can appreciate about the show, The X-Files, was they clearly, when they wrote that show, had read all of this shit. You know? I can appreciate that. That's some dedication to writing.
and then
And then what?
this paragraph.
Oh. Still at the peak of his influence, Moore gave a speech at a national UFO conference in 1989. To audible jeers from the audience, he admitted that he was an informant, feeding information on ufologists to the government in exchange for details about their supposed alien contacts. By overestimating how much of the information he had received was accurate, Moore served as a vehicle through which the government spread disinformation throughout the entire UFO community. Though still in circulation today, the Majestic 12 Papers were an elaborate forgery by the Air Force Office of Special Investigation. See, this is like the other part that I that interests me. It's like how much of this was like a deliberate plan by the CIA or someone who works in them, or maybe it was someone who's just like Bill Moore kept harassing them, and they were just like, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna make up some documents and fuck with this guy."
Yeah, well, but that was his argument at the beginning, right? He wasn't saying that it was a like conscious overall plan by any department or
It's just
agency.
sort of, yeah.
It was just kind of all of them doing whatever they felt like doing, and then our current existence is how it worked out. Like,
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
yeah.
That's hilarious though. One of Bill Moore's government analysts was a Fosse special agent Richard Doughty, a man who by that time already had experience using alien conspiracies to conceal military secrets. The 2013 documentary Mirage Men examines Dottie's involvement in a secret operation led by the federal government in the 1970s and 80s. This effort aimed to disrupt ufologists whose constant investigations into obscure corners of the government sometimes brought them close to discovering tests of the new Cold War technology. The government sought to neutralize the very UFO researchers it had indirectly encouraged. One reason for this disinformation campaign was the Freedom of Information Act. The law prompted disclosures of secret government documents, such as the 1978 release, which proved that the CIA had investigated UFOs in the past. When ufologists brought this evidence of prior government interest to the press, it further legitimized the phenomenon. The ufologist responsible for the 1978 release told the New York Times, "UFOs do exist. They are real. The US government has been totally untruthful and the cover-up is massive." New public curiosity prompted new government responses. And what I meant by like the X-Files stuff is like there's characters in the show that are like the ufologists that fit this to the T. As I said about the season 5 story arc has to do with the people who were like the CIA people spreading the misinformation, and just there was also like when they talked about the 12 in the X-Files, I think it's called the Syndicate, and they're like a group of men that are like plotting with the aliens to like save their own hide against the US government, and just like
Which one is Deep Throat?
Deep Throat is one of the good guys. It's the cigarette smoking man, Cancer Man, who is a part of the other group.
Those are different people?
Yeah, Deep Throat was like in Watergate, was a person feeding information to Mulder. He was like a good guy working inside the government, feeding information to him.
Yeah, I always thought that they were the same, or I remember them as the same person. But again, I haven't watched the show in a long time.
No, Cigarette Smoking Man is more of he's like the bad guy.
Okay.
The federal government's... Sorry, Do they have a gag reflex? Who has a gag reflex? Oh, deep throat.
Deep throat.
Deep Throat worked for Mulder's father and was killed at the end of season 1. Yes. I mean, because Deep Throat and Mulder's father were both, I guess, a part of the secretive group. But, like, they were starting to, like, leave the group, and that's why they had to be killed, right? Because they're giving all the information to Mulder.
God, I don't remember this show at all.
The federal government also feared that Soviet spies could infiltrate UFO communities to purposefully collect secret information. U.S. intelligence knew that the Soviets were interested. In 1977, the USSR launched an official investigation into a mass UFO sighting in the city of... Go for it. You got it.
Petrozavodsk. 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 Zavodsk. Works. You just gotta like put yourself into the like accent.
But you have a way better Russian accent than I do. I can't even pull it off. Like watch the Petros of this.
Petro
This shit.
Zavodsk.
Petros of Zavodsk. Okay, all right.
Yeah, you got pretty close with that one compared to the other one. This is a lot better.
Western sources quickly identified the sighting as a test launch of the Cosmos 955 spy satellite. But this explanation was not widely reported in the Soviet Union. The confusion of state officials uninformed about the launch led many Soviet ufologists to consider the sighting legitimate, even years later. An outcome which one American ufologist argued must be entirely to the liking of Moscow's military security specialists and news censors who wished to hide the very existence of the Plesetsk rocket center from which the satellite was launched. I love like ufologists in America are like guffawing at or scoffing at like ufologists in the Soviet Union. We're like, oh, you're believing the stuff that your government tells you? Well, let me tell you about the real UFOs we got in our backyard. Jesus.
God.
Sir, this show sounds convoluted as hell. I mean, but here's the thing: doesn't this article sound convoluted as hell? That's why, the X-Files is great. Great show.
Real life is convoluted as hell. Whoa.
The Soviet Union was not alone in finding deception valuable. In 1979, a WW2 veteran named Paul Benowitz.
WW2.
I know. World War II? Does that sound better to you?
Yeah.
WWF veteran named Paul Benowitz.
WW2 sounds like website 2.0 or something. Like.
Oh my god. Listen, my brain's fried. This Benowitz guy lived near Kirtland, AFB, a major hub of military experimentation outside of Albuquerque, New Mexico. The owner of a scientific equipment company, a curious Benowitz began recording strange sights and signals coming from the base. After repeated sightings of mysterious light doing formations around the base, he decided to contact the Air Force and share his findings about the unusual behavior. The man put in charge of his case was a Fosse special agent Richard Doughty. That was half the show. The other was basically a Monster of the Week type show. Indeed, which was awesome. When put into contact with him, Doughty realized that Benowitz had unwittingly collected large amounts of secret information about their activities at the base, including experimental aircraft testing. In order to keep their projects a secret, Doughty and the other Air Force officers decided to encourage Benowitz to believe that the base sightings were probably maybe UFOs. Probably maybe.
It is annoying that that's a quote there and it didn't have
like
a source on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably maybe.
I'm gonna message Brett and be like, where the fuck are your sources? Where are the page numbers?
Yeah. I'm gonna cite to you a 900-page document.
Yeah.
If you've got an aerial platform that is highly advanced and the public who happens to get a glimpse of the thing from time to time, If they're convinced that it's from Venus and there's no way it could be our military, well, hey, that's awesome. Hell yes. If I'm the agent running the protection for that particular program, and that's helping me cover something for years, I might even feed the fire. That's like an interesting too. One is like the blaming it on Venus. Like that was a claim. I don't know how much truth there is to that, but like some UFO phenomenons or UFO sightings could possibly be Venus, which whoa, smoke. Venus can sometimes be one of the brighter looking like stars in our atmosphere, and occasionally can like, if it catches your angle the right way, like appear like it's moving funny as like a UFO. But there again, like getting back to the X-Files, there's tons of like episodes in there where like Venus is the government is what you just saw was Venus. Nothing to see here. All right, Simone, come say hi. Come say hi so you can stop yelling. Oh, I grabbed you weird that time. There you go. Under the belief that he was cooperating with the Air Force, Benowitz was subjected to an elaborate psychological campaign by Fozzie and allegedly other agencies, including the NSA. Similar to the Roswell cover-up, the Air Force sought to provide information that was roughly 80% false, but which also included real military secrets in the other 20%, in order to keep Benowitz invested in the story? That seems kind of silly to me. Like, if we didn't give them the 20% of the truth, he wouldn't be invested.
Well, if they didn't give him anything that he might be able to verify independently of what they were giving him, I guess.
What would that be? Like, maybe like flight data that's I don't know. In 1982, Benowitz first shared the disinformation he had received with other ufologists by publishing his theories about an underground alien base near Dulce. Dulce? Or Dulce.
Dulce?
The capital of Jicarilla Apache Reservation in northern New Mexico. Probably butchered all of it. Today, this theory is still popular enough to serve as tourist industry for the small town. Fossey's main problem was that Benowitz was smarter than they expected. The closer their campaign brought him to the Air Force, the more discoveries about the real activities he made, forcing them to continuously escalate their efforts to keep him off track. In 1983, the agency went so far as to build a fake UFO landing pad in the desert for Benowitz to find. That is incredible.
Oh my god.
Dottie, who many contend is still lying in self-serving ways, claims he once tried to personally dissuade Benowitz, telling him it was all a sanctioned counterintelligence operation. He tapped into something on the base, and we didn't want him to ever disclose that. By that point, Benowitz didn't believe him. In 1988, his mental state had deteriorated to the point that his family checked him into a psychiatric hospital. He died quietly in 2003. The apparent irresponsibility and the possible use of such groups for subversive purposes should be kept in mind. This is from some sort of panel in 1953. And yeah, like it's interesting. I wonder how much of like the paranoia itself like pre-existed this, and they were feeding into it, which like led to this. Like probably not great. Cough, cough, crop circles. You know what the funny thing about crop circles is too? Like, it's amazing how many people are just like, crop circles, man, crop circles. And then you just see like I remember watching one show where the one dude's like, yeah, I'm responsible for like almost all the crop circles that you find in this area. And he showed how he did it by just using a board of wood and some string overnight and just like punched out.
Do I look like I know
Whoa!
what a JP is? I just wonder.
Hello, Bad Praxis.
Howdy.
Welcome. I don't feel like
Did
it play the
audio
Hill
cue
thing?
work?
Yeah, it did.
I don't know. Hell yeah.
Yes, Kitty, my cat is being aggressively affectionate right now, but I approve of it. Welcome. I don't feel like I've seen the Bad Praxis in a while. It's like y'all been streaming at times when I'm never around. That alert killed me. Holy distortion. That's such the greatest clip. Those two clips had nothing to do with each other. The problem is, like, we had that one clip of Andrew Chapados, who's a Rebel News moron, and at the end of one of his clip, it just played that subtle, like, and he goes, hi guys, or hi man, or whatever, and I was just like, we have to have that as the raid thing. But I didn't feel like it captured enough attention, so we just shoved that shit in.
What is this? Are you guys kidding me?
Hello, thanks for the follow, Bob. I'm surprised you haven't followed us already. I will say, Bob sent out he started a GoFundMe, was it? Either way, Bob just quit his job recently, so if you can go help him out, I was gonna find the link right now. Go send some money over to Bob, because Bob is cool as hell. Oh no. It's hard for me to control C because of this cat. And then control V. Oh.
Also, for those who are unaware, Cat's name is Simone.
Yes.
She is fat. She is a sweetheart.
But she's pretty. She's pretty. That notification bugged me out. Oh. Oh shit, it's the best MR mod. I didn't even know. Like, I knew you were an MR mod after I went on your show, but I didn't know. She needs a treat.
MR?
Majority Report.
Oh.
For those who rated, what we are doing right now, just in case you're wondering, is we're reading an article about how the government was covering up, or not. Well, not that it was a coordinated effort to like screw with people, but how like there's this interplay between the CIA trying to cover up military research by telling people that it was like UFOs and stuff like that. That's kind of what we're
reading. And how much that might play into the modern sort of like release of UFO stuff, and how I don't know, it has been very funny how much the US government has been like talking about UFOs recently, and like just nobody gives a shit about it.
Yeah.
Like, that's been in the news on and off for like a year at this point, and nobody cares.
Do you know why I think no one cares? I feel like we exist in a time where like everyone has cameras, and like I just feel like belief in UFOs must be really low, because everyone's like, you know what? If UFOs really existed, like it makes sense back in the day that all you would get is like blurry footage and shit. But if like you have like billions of people walking around with these, you would think that we would capture like a few UFOs here and there, like really good quality, clearly not like messed with images or videos from that stuff, you know? So I feel like
the UFOs distort digital cameras.
Yeah. They got specific like digital camera distorters.
Yeah, it's just that the ship's AI is so advanced that it just like reaches out and is like, boop, goodbye footage, and
I guess we didn't do this, but I know most of our audience already listens to Bad Praxis. But you should go follow Bad Praxis as well.
Yeah, I guess I should have done that, but
yeah. I always forget to like.
Should have been a good mod or whatever.
Oh. All right. Well, what you just missed too in this article is apparently this Bill Moore guy was being like seduced by, well, not seduced, but the CIA was feeding him really terrible information. To the point where they even created a UFO landing pad to like fuck with them, basically. And Bill Moore eventually died in a psychiatric hospital.
No, that was Benowitz. Moore was the one who came out at the UFO conference as like, hey guys, I've been a CIA plant this whole time. See ya.
Right, okay. And then it was Dottie was the one who was feeding them information. Dottie was the one who built the landing platform in the desert. He's the CIA guy. Okay. Now we're back on it. So as was the case with Bill Moore, some of the theories fed to Paul Benowitz still circulate in UFO communities. But despite everything, some ufologists still maintain that government collaboration is worthwhile, as it can produce new bits of classified truth. Like, you would think, after you've been fucked with this hard, that maybe that well is dry. One ufologist in the Mirage Men argues that government agents lie, but they talk. And if they talk, once in a while, you're going to get a piece of something in that huge pile of crap that will actually connect with what you want. And if you don't let them take you somewhere like they did with Paul, kind of keep an even keel, I think you're okay. That's kind of fascinating too, that they're creating like survival strategies for the misinformation. Just be like, we realize we're being fucked with, but we're gonna like wait for that one bit that we like. All right, Simone, this is probably not the best place to live. To this day, the scale of psychological operations by Afosse and others in this era is unknown. The son of a New Mexico state police officer recently published a book reviewing his father's research on mysterious cattle mutilations near Dulce. His conclusion? After extremely unorthodox nuclear tests nearby, the government was likely engaging in covert testing of livestock to check for radiation in the local food chain. That's hilarious.
God.
He further alleges that the CIA promoted theories about aliens to discredit his father and make people think he was crazy. In a related incident in conspiracy theory which Dottie tried to feed to a ufologist in 1983 re-emerged online under strange circumstances in 2005, but quickly fizzled out. Like, this is another kind of annoying paragraph. What did he try to feed them? And what were the strange circumstances?
I mean, it's probably in the... Yeah.
There's going to be another 50-page document?
No, this one's not that long.
Project Serpo, fact or fiction? Okay, I'm not going to read it. Project Serpo.
See? It's short enough that you could read it this time at least. So I think this is one of Brett's best sourcing so far.
Fair.
Serpo is dead. Long live Serpo is fun.
All right, Simone, I gotta put you down. Ooh. I mean, that sounds like I'm putting you out of your misery, but I'm literally just putting you on the floor. Oh.
She's gonna turn off your computer for that one.
Oh, hopefully not. She has done that before, and it is very frustrating. So, number 4, of drone swarms and men. Looks like we've reached the drones. The new ODNI report on UFOs begins humbly. The limited amount of high-quality reporting hampers our ability to draw firm conclusions. Here's what they do know. Since 2004, there have been 144 reported sightings of UFOs within the U.S. government, only one of which has been confidently explained. 80 of the 144 reported UAP sightings were caught on multiple sensors. 18 involved a UFO which appeared to exhibit new or unusual flight patterns, extreme speeds, sudden sharp turns, etc. The full list of the UFO cases reviewed in the report is classified, but we can be certain that it includes the 3 Navy pilot videos which prompted the report in the first place. The first video was taken in 2004 after 2 weeks of unusual behavior off the California coast. The other 2 were filmed off the coasts of Virginia and Florida in 2015. During the period, soldiers had almost daily sightings of unusual activity. So those were the videos we watched at the beginning.
Yeah.
The true nature of the UFOs in the pilot videos is unknown. Among a list of possibilities, the ODNI offers airborne clutter. Hey, that's what I was suggesting. And natural atmospheric phenomena. So that could be, like, as I also said, like the static in the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
Ball
lightning.
Yeah. Some skeptics have provided their own explanations, which could plausibly explain the sightings and their flight patterns in mundane ways. On the other end of the spectrum, the possibility of alien visitors remains unfalsifiable. All right. I mean, fair enough. I'm curious what sources he has for the skeptics here. Cool World? No, I don't know what the hell that is.
25-minute video.
The War Zone. Are some of the UFOs Navy pilots are encountering actually airborne radar reflectors? Interesting. Interesting. I mean, my guess...
I love...
Go for it.
I love that this website sections are the war zone, reviews, car warranties, deals, and the store. What's the car warranties?
This is all they have in their store. A shirt that says Stuttgart. Looks like a...
Oh no, it's view all. Those are different sections.
Oh, okay. And why Stuttgart? Is that like...
/ the drive speed club.
But I was saying when we watched those
That's in
videos...
car warranties.
I feel like, I mean, this could be a bunch of shit, but like I feel given its name that these are people that know a thing or two about planes, given the name of the war zone. And so that's why I was like, I was wondering if there was something about like radar itself that I do not grasp that could explain this phenomenon. So it's like interesting that like my guess is there is similar debunking going on here, that there's probably some reason that you could have a tracking in the airplane that doesn't actually suggest there's a ship out there. It could be something. But I don't have the qualifications to do that. I think this is an additional link here. The San Diego Union Tribune. Those amazing Navy UFO videos may have down-to-earth explanations skeptics contend. Hoping that you would just give us a...
No, they want you to read the full article.
Well, they're going to make you do trigonometry based on one of these subheadings here. A touch of trig? No, thank you.
Great.
But anyways, this looks... I mean, it's in a... This one is at least sourced in a newspaper, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways. I do love the ending about it remaining unfalsifiable. I mean, I guess that's technically true.
Yeah.
I mean, goblins are also unfalsifiable.
It's true. They are.
Despite fears in Washington, it is highly unlikely that any foreign military would beat our own to developing aircraft capable of advanced flight patterns. The U.S. military spends more on R&D than all other wealthy nations put together. One estimate suggests that the U.S. has more total military aircraft than China, Iran, North Korea, and Russia combined. In fact, the annual U.S. black budget, which funds secret programs, is larger than the entire Russian military budget. It's possible that some simpler UFO sightings are the work of foreign militaries, but it's a highly unlikely explanation for any sightings which involve truly unusual flight abilities. Is it possible that some of these UFOs are our own experimental aircraft? The ODNI report was unable to confirm that U.S. military testing explained any of their 144 reported sightings, but this tells us little. After all, the existence of secret government projects is rarely ever shared with those outside of the project due to both confidentiality and compartmentalization. Though hard evidence is elusive, secret test flights are a more plausible explanation for recent UFO sightings than one might imagine. First, it is important to understand that the U.S. military-industrial complex is quietly developing futuristic aviation technology, and they are doing it right now.
Was that another The Drive?
Yeah. How did you know? Did you click it?
You hovered over it.
Okay.
I can see it on the bottom left. Oh, it's a UFO.
Whoa! Stealth planes look so weird.
Yeah.
Weirdly shaped. Look at these things. Area 51 added a new hangar in 2016. That's for the additional Alien studio.
Yeah, their art studio.
Their art studio?
Yeah.
Abstract painting of UFOs. Additional storage space, which...
Aliens don't just paint about UFOs, Jody. Gee.
Oh, so it's the aliens are doing the paintings. I thought they were like...
Yeah.
Okay, no, that's fair. In that case, maybe they're drawing human anatomy for fun. I don't know. They really like to probe us and stuff. Maybe they want to draw internal representations of humans. Hence all the probing. They just need a new perspective.
I think it's just that aliens are horny.
Well, aliens definitely are horny. If Star Trek will tell us anything, aliens are horny. Which reminds me, just did you see Jeff Bezos cut off William Shatner?
No, I haven't watched any of that shit.
I only see the one clip, and it's so good because they like it's after. Well, for one, when William Shatner is in space. Well, let's clear things up too. William Shatner has us blocked on Twitter, and he's an asshole. But he goes up to space, and he's just like, "Oh, wow, oh, wow." And that's like all he says, like the whole time he's up there. And then they get back down, and it looks like William Shatner's about to like explain something so profound about his experience in space, and Jeff Bezos cuts him off and offers him some wine to like pop the cork and celebrate. Meanwhile, like William Shatner is like a lifelong alcoholic who's like abstained from drinking alcohol.
Oh my god. Holy shit.
So callous. And it was like right, and he offers this like right just before he's gonna say something profound, cuts him off, and they all start cheering and spraying like alcohol everywhere. I was just like, this is amazing. That's the only thing that I've seen from that event.
Poor Bill.
Area 51 added a new hangar in 2016, additional storage space which could be used for any number of new developmental projects. Perhaps it's the SR-72, an upgrade to the SR-71 first tested at Area 51 half a century ago, which is rumored to be further along in development than acknowledged. Or perhaps it's the RQ-180 drone, which is believed to have been photographed for the first time last year. Look at it!
Whoa, it's a UFO.
Look at the chemtrails! Look at the chemtrails!
The aliens have been doing chemtrails this whole time.
Holy shit. That's a stealth bomber? No, that is a chemtrail drone. We just went over this, Libby.
Yeah, come on.
Maybe the hangar was built for the next generation fighter jet that reportedly broke records during testing, or even for the B-21 bomber that begins official testing next year. It could also be something else entirely. Like aliens. The U.S.
Yes.
The U.S. currently possesses a space-based weapon, so secret that we only even know it exists because of an internal Pentagon fight over whether or not to reveal it. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that just so amazing? This is why like government conspiracies like don't work for me, because if like
yeah,
because of shit like this,
like the urge to brag about whatever the fuck secret program you're doing for the Pentagon, and just like to go on Twitter and somebody insults you and you're like, oh yeah? Well, I'm fucking testing a secret flight drone that's gonna blow up your mother. Like, how do you not like there's no way to like keep anything actually secret.
Unless it's only like a few people that know about something. As soon as you expand,
but then it's not a big project, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yet another piece of this puzzle points to experimental aircraft. Both the 2021 ODNI report and the 1953 Robertson Panel report identified the exact same problem with their reviews. UFO reports were clustered around military bases. They suggest this may be data collection bias. Bases pay especially close attention to their surrounding airspace and thus have more to report. That's also true. But there's another explanation. Given their opaque nature and abundance of restricted airspace, military installations serve as optimal locations for both testing and detecting experimental aircraft. I mean, it's also capable of detecting ordinary aircraft, but being mistaken for stuff. Because where there's an airport or a base, more stuff will be flying up. It's plausible that bases report an unusually high number of UFOs because some of those UFOs were quietly launched from the bases themselves. True. If these new aircraft are meant to be secret, why fly them within sensor range of other military aircraft? Speculatively, this could actually serve a purpose. close encounters between standard and confidential aircraft could serve as field tests for the latter, gauging the experimental craft's ability to evade detection and pursuit in a live environment where engagement is unlikely. If this sounds implausible, just wait until you hear about another recent incident that was likely reviewed in the ODNI report. Interesting. I mean, it does sound kind of silly. I would think that they would just... I mean, you could use the obvious explanation of like, well, that's why they seed the communities with all these conspiracy theories, so they can test them right out in the open. I mean, because here's the other thing: is like, what are you going to do? Build a large scale base in the middle of nowhere? Because then everyone will see the large scale base and see the runways. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like you can hide that shit.
Well, and also you need to service whoever, like you need to have
People?
things available for whoever's serving on the base. Like,
Yep.
There's a reason that they opened like Burger Kings in Iraq and Afghanistan and Guantanamo. Like,
You mean like the English one in the Scottish Highlands? Yeah, I guess so. What are you guys testing UFOs too?
sure,
In July 2019,
England doesn't have UFOs.
they do now. Well, no, not England. They're in the.
They're
Scottish
probably called
Highlands.
like UFOs.
UFOs. UFOs.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, they probably have
sorry.
like a silly name.
I'm sorry to all of Scotland for that terrible Scottish accent. I should have committed harder
Boy,
to the bit.
There's an UFO.
UFO. Yeah. Got the UFO.
UFO. Oh fuck.
We're cancelled. All of Scotland has cancelled us right now. We just assume it's military bullshit, as no one else kabooms so more fucking squatties. Yeah, I'm sorry, Livy, that last sentence was very difficult. Canas booms so more fucking squatties. I don't even know what squatties are. Those like military people? I think that's military people.
Yeah.
In July 2019, several U.S. Navy ships off the coast of San Diego were swarmed by at least 6 drones of unknown origin. The drones, which were also caught on radar, possessed flight capabilities far beyond commercially available technology, and they ultimately left the Navy ships undamaged. Soldiers involved were baffled, and an investigation went nowhere. The military still claims that the drones are unidentified. That's a little weird.
Hmm.
Each of the ships was in the proximity of San Clemente Island, a major Navy-owned testing ground, though authorities there denied any drone flights at the time. This April, however, the U.S. Navy held exercises to test new equipment off the coast of San Diego, including a secretive Super Swarm project led by the Office of Naval Research. One of the agencies, which uses San Clemente Island for testing, after the exercises were complete, the Navy publication confirmed that they included a swarm drone attack against a target vessel. Swarm drones! There is no concrete evidence that the Navy secretly tested this developmental technology on its own ships in 2019, but 2 years later, the Navy now admits that it possesses the exact type of technology necessary to do so, and that it is now testing this technology on its own ships in the exact same area where the incident took place. That's interesting. In fact, this is also the same region where the 2004 Navy pilot video was shot, a sighting conveniently experienced by a Navy vessel that was testing a brand new sensor system. So my guess is that's the conclusion about the connections with the sensors in the thing.
Yeah.
Who the hell throws out sonic booms? Okay, sonic booms. And squatties is a derogatory way to refer to the troops. Are you aware that in the TV show Stargate, SG-1, there is a show within a show called Wormhole Extreme, which has a similar premise? The US military allows it to exist as plausible deniability for conspiracy theorists, so they could just point to the show within a show. That's amazing. I love...
like
Project Blue
X-Files.
I mean, it's a great plot for, like, I mean, people speculate too, or like they joke about the fact that, like, you know, Alex Jones is probably a psyop, but it, like, if he wasn't, then the military, or not the military, CIA would have created him to be a psyop. It's a common theme with all of them. Mysteries like these will only become more common. In the years following the release of the Navy pilot videos, one military scientist filed several bizarre patents on behalf of the Navy while working at one of their main aircraft testing bases. Though physicists are skeptical that his proposals are even possible, they would theoretically allow for the unprecedented levels of speed and maneuverability seen in the videos. Interesting. I mean, this one seems less credible to me. I liked some of the previous paragraphs. This one, I'm just like some weirdo filed a patent. I don't know. Regardless of the feasibility of
Yeah, but that is also like a means of throwing things off too. Is like, look, we have these secret abilities that even physicists can't figure out, or something.
I mean, or it could just be a weirdo trying to file a patent. There's a lot of weirdos out
But it said he was filing it on behalf of the Navy.
there. Did it? Yeah, but I wonder
Yeah.
because like a lot of these people, like you have a lot of like university people filing stuff on behalf of the university because it's where they get their grant funding and shit like this. I'm just saying, it's the least. That one seems the most silly. Patents are just so silly.
Oh, it looks like this is still about that.
Regardless of the feasibility of these futuristic patents, the military is interested. When the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office hesitated to grant one of the patent proposals, an executive at the U.S. Naval Aviation Enterprise sent a letter urging its approval. Though mostly dedicated to arguing that the concept could be feasible in the future, the letter also echoes Cold War anxieties of the past. We need this patent, it argues, because China is already investing significantly in this area. Patents are silly. Patent application has since been accepted. The Navy scientist who filed the patent has a new job at the Air Force.
Dun, dun, dun.
I mean, they could be just a wacko working at the Air Force, being like, "I like the cut of your jib. Come work for us." And then they put on like a fly.
Yeah, the Air Force poached
to the danger zone. Yeah, it was a headhunting. They poached him.
Yeah.
Number 5, operational surprise. It might be at the rate we're going, which is fine. That we won't get to the other article, but maybe we'll do it next Monday. We'll see how it goes, unless something else comes up. I thought this one wouldn't take us as long as it did. That's
Oh, it's surprisingly long.
Though the ODNI report never mentions aliens, they featured prominently in its mainstream press coverage. The New York Times headline announced that the study finds no evidence of alien technology in flying objects, but can't rule it out either. Tucker Carlson's coverage often began with a graphic of an alien head, of course. Fucking Tucker Carlson.
Nice.
The media's choice to cover the story from this angle is meant to appeal to our national UFO fascination, a cultural curiosity which has been quietly shaped by government activity of the past. Recent developments, however, suggest that the government may still be involved in shaping the narrative of the story. Tucker Carlson, confirmed CIA. Yes.
Yep.
UFO organization most interviewed by the press today is To the Stars Academy. That's amazing. I want to click on that.
Oh my god.
Oh, it's
this
Blink-182.
gets back into what Livy was
It is
talking about.
Blink-182.
Yeah.
Created in 2017 by ufologist and former Blink-182 vocalist Tom DeLonge. Of course. Oh my god. Hey mom, there's something in my back room. Hope it's not the creatures from above. I love that album.
Sure.
That song. The funny thing is, that song is called "Aliens Exist." It's off the album "Enema of the State," but it comes off as like a joke. Yet it's just amazing that he writes this silly song about like aliens visiting us, and then dedicated the rest of his life to like believing in the existence of UFOs and thinking it's like a CIA cover up, and then created a band called Angels and Airwaves, which is about UFOs some more.
Well, he did the silly song, and then aliens contacted him to be like, hey, that song was pretty good, thanks. He really loved this shout out.
Oh, it's a great album. The strange group first got its start when DeLong met Air Force Major General Neil McCaslin and proposed to create a UFO research organization with government support. McCaslin, whose career has focused on experimental aviation technology, responded to DeLong by connecting him to a CIA operative. Oh my god!
I love that. You get famous to a certain point and you can just like ask a general to refer you.
Well, like, think it too. Like, if the CIA was spreading misinformation, what better fucking way to do it than get this like naive pot smoking musician to like come over here?
Yeah.
You, the one who sings about dick jokes, come over here. Let me tell you some information.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. According to his own account, DeLong was eventually put in touch with a very specific person in the government who could feed him information, including government confirmation that alien exists. Oh god. Hooked on this prospect, DeLong followed down the path of prior ufologists and began cooperating with the government. DeLong asked his handlers for some government officials to join him at his new outlet, TTSA. One such official is Luis Elizondo, an intelligence agent who the media introduces as the former head of a UFO research project that ran inside the Pentagon from 2007 to 2012. Just one problem. No one can actually confirm that Elizondo ever held that position. According to one journalist, these former intelligence officials working at TTSA still have security clearances, still have networks in Washington, still are in the business, if you will. Or they're all lying. None of this is real. It's all fake.
This article is fake.
This article, Brett
Jody wrote it.
is Tom DeLong.
Brett is a multi-year experiment on the internet.
Yeah.
Brett isn't real.
Is this even Diet Pepsi anymore? I don't even know anymore. Not even know. When appearing in the media, the former intelligence officials at To the Stars Academy cast doubt on the possibility that UFO reports are U.S. military experiments. One told CBS 60 Minutes that the recent UFO sightings are not us. That's one thing we know, with a very high degree of confidence.
God. They're so bad at it.
Well, I don't know. This to me rings like true, even if it's like just like the more mundane explanations of just like aerial phenomena. You know, because it wouldn't be them. It would just be like static and shit. It's just not aliens. For all I know, Vienna was Tom DeLong. Believable. In fact,
I am.
Vienna.
I am that person that I don't know.
You would have been. I don't even think you were born when Blink-182 released their first album.
Probably not.
When were you born again?
97.
Let's see when that album came out.
I'm gonna see what day my birthday is.
1993? Oh, 1995. 1995 is when their first album came out.
Yeah.
So I love that you're older than the band the band is older than you are that used to.
And yet I am its vocalist.
Not anymore. You left due to infighting with the bassist. Don't you know this? Don't you know the history?
No. The aliens wipe my memory, obviously. Keep up.
Even more suspicious, TTSA also has roots in the military-industrial complex. DeLong and McCaslin's first meeting was an event held by Skunkworks, the experimental aircraft team at Lockheed Martin, who originally designed the U-2 and are now designing the SR-72. Skunkworks' former program director now works at TTSA, where he has discussed research into a vehicle that mimics the capabilities observed in UAP, by using technology similar to that in the controversial Navy patent discussed above. I also want to say, like, the funny thing about all this, I remember watching a video, I want to say, like, maybe a year or two ago, or it would have been pre-pandemic. And it was, like, about, like, infighting within the ufologist community. Because I feel like a lot of ufologists got initially, like, really pissed off at Tom DeLonge because he was this outsider who just came in with his fame and celebrity and money and, like, got, like, access to shit that they've been trying to get access to for, like, so long. And so, like, Tom's just, like, his response to their claiming that, like, the information he's being fed is wrong is that, like, they're just jealous because he got the information and they didn't. And, like, there's just, like, all kinds of, like, infighting with all of that. Meanwhile, it's like, what is real? What isn't real? Is this all just a coincidence? A convoluted disinformation scheme? Something else entirely? There is no way to know. According to a 2011 U.S. military handbook, military deception, operations are those which deliberately mislead adversary military decision makers about U.S. military capabilities, intentions, and operations. After U.S. officers carefully weigh the likely benefits of a deception operation against the potential short and long-term loss of credibility with the media or local audiences, they sometimes support military deception operations designed to preserve operational surprise. It is unlikely that the government has abandoned this concept in the last decade. I mean, but this is the stuff where it gets to me of, like, I don't know if they can. I mean, part of the issue here too is, like, even if there was some sort of, like, top-down strategy to, like, sow this kind of disinformation, and even if somebody were to come forward and leak it, the part of it being disinformation, like, people coming out to say this is disinformation are themselves now feeding into the disinformation, like, ecosphere, and it, like, self-perpetuates in a way, you know? But at the same time, it's like, I don't know. Determining which sources to trust and how much of them to trust is complicated by the very nature of disinformation. That's exactly what I was getting at, yeah.
He keeps doing that.
Yeah.
Like, you keep kind of predicting the next paragraph.
If we have trouble concluding the truth about a military deception operation with certainty, then the operation was a success. The line between real state secrets and misleading rumors is purposefully imperceptible. Yeah. That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
All I want to know is if Jesus was an alien and if he likes critical race theory. Well, definitely.
Jesus was a prophet of God, and he has no opinion of critical race theory.
No, he's definitely read all the Frankfurt School writers. Jesus. As the window of accountability.
I mean, he has now, but...
Well, that's what I'm saying.
He doesn't really care for American law, so that's kind of the issue with his issue with critical race theory.
Fair. As the window of accountability for past action closes, we only learn about prior deceptions long after they occur. A corollary is that recent government releases such as the ODNI report may contain considerable disinformation that will only be corrected far into the future. The Pentagon did not voluntarily release the Navy pilot videos and only verified them in response to a wave of FOIA requests. The new ODNI report also did not come at the military's offering, but was requested by Senator Marco Rubio. Rubio!
Oh my god.
Rubio!
Rubio. Can't wait for that president.
Please no. Please no. Jeb's a mess. Jeb is a waste.
Listen, it is about time that we had a Miami Cuban president.
Please no. For those, I was showing Vienna the other day the Vic Berger compilation of Jeb Bush. It was fun. With Trump saying to Jeb Bush, "Jeb's a mess. Jeb is a waste." President Little Marco, no thank you. Nearly every modern incident that has provoked the Pentagon to collect or release information on UFOs has been in response to outside pressure rather than willful disclosures. If the military were indeed trying to hide new aircraft testing, then these external demands for transparency would leave them in need of convincing counter-narrative. History shows that UFOs served this role well. I mean, but why are we pressuring Marco Rubio with this? In 2019, only a third of Americans believed that some UFO sightings have been alien spacecraft. But because 68% believed the government knew more than it was admitting, recent military announcements have likely changed public opinion significantly. According to a poll from this June, 51% of Americans believe that the military's UFO sightings are probably or definitely proof of aliens. Interesting. 51%.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's be real. A large percentage of Americans do not believe in evolution. So, and I think like a significant
Who did the
number
poll
also
also?
believes in ghosts. Who did the poll? It's Pew.
Pew Research. Oh
What's
my
up, Adam,
god.
man?
Oh.
I mean, they
Most
don't say
Americans
there's
believe in
national
intelligent life
security.
beyond Earth.
I mean, but let's
But
So, percentage of U.S. adults who say their best guess is that intelligent life exists on other planets. 65%, 34 doesn't. Uh,
yeah.
percentage of U.S. adults who say that UFOs reported by people in the military are evidence of intelligent life outside the Earth.
Okay, so
But
that's the
the
one that he was
51%.
referencing.
But it's a
Okay.
probably. I mean, that's not.
Only 11% definitely. Like, that feels a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay there, Brett.
Yeah. Okay, then, Brett. But 51 say it's not a threat. The aliens are just coming to take touristic photos. That's all. Historian Kate Dorsch argues that UFOs are intrinsically bound up in the way the US military understands the world. In her analysis, the UFO phenomenon has its origins in the earliest days of the Cold War, fear of a new foreign threat whose potential is poorly understood, public curiosity about rapid technological developments, and the creation of the US Air Force itself, a branch of the military operating in our skies. It is interesting how much of like the Cold War has shaped conspiracy theories, and all like the Red Scare shit has shaped conspiracy theories.
Yeah. Like,
Because that was like the funny thing is the article that we're not going to get to based on time constraints was going to get on some of that, but having to do with pedophilia scares.
yeah. What, like, secret technological developments were happening pre-Cold War, too? Like,
The steam engine.
I guess some of the rearmaments in between World War One and World War Two. But otherwise, like, and even Germany's rearmament before World War Two wasn't that much of a secret, you know?
Are you saying like that that's like part of like the reason why you would get like conspiracies in that sense, or like the need to like spread conspiracies to sow disinformation? Because like prior to that, you weren't trying to hide like new technology you were building.
I mean, I think it's less weren't trying to hide, but also like reporting mechanisms and like, yeah, like max media, as Tukar said, but also like both like levels of industrialization and like the kind of technology you're building. Like,
Yeah.
you know, deception has always been part of warfare and governance and whatever else, but like
Please stop.
on the scale of is Simone attacking?
Well, she's getting close to my computer, which makes me nervous. Because she's gonna go like this
Yeah.
and rub her head against the power off button, which she has done before.
She's tempted by the forbidden zone.
Rather, she get tempted by nothing. Were you done your thought though? I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it was only like half formed. It was just kind of a like.
No, that's fair. I just wanted to make sure so I wasn't stepping over it. Also, old school hiding was just only the town near the port knows. Yeah, they didn't really share that with the world. Now, if the town knows, then the world finds out. That's a good point.
Yeah.
The Pentagon's recent change of heart on UFO secrecy comes at a time when multiple different experimental aircraft are conducting test flights, and even more are planned for the near future. Government anxiety about the supposed military threat posed by China has grown to levels of hysteria. I can agree with that, for sure. For surezies.
Mhm.
For surezies. I should say, too,
Right.
the episode we're recording tomorrow is going to be wild. My God. My God.
Great.
Just I don't even know how I'm gonna. There's so much because it was like every episode was just episode after episode. He said more ridiculous stuff. It's a mess. It's a mess. Meanwhile, the Biden administration's decisions. Oh, and I say that partly because one of them has to do with China. But anyways. Meanwhile, the Biden administration's decision to keep Trump's Space Force will allow a brand new
I
bureaucracy.
forgot about that.
And he's keeping it. We're keeping it.
Yeah.
To be honest, Space Force
I'll keep it.
in name only was one of the greatest things Trump did. I don't like that it militarizes space and all that shit, but the name, come on. Space Force. Biden's administrative decision to keep Trump's Space Force will allow a brand new bureaucracy to take root within the military-industrial complex. In other words, the conditions that first prompted the military's use of UFO rumors were quite similar to our conditions today. But if the history of this strategy suggests the government is still lying to the public, it would also suggest that these lies could backfire. Even when successful in the short term, defending operational surprise by stoking rumors of aliens has consistently created new public interest in UFOs. Greater public interest means more people watching the skies, which means more spotted aircraft, which in turn means even more disinformation campaigns. Is that backfiring, though? Or is this exactly what they want? You gotta think a few layers down, Brett. Come on.
Yeah.
The government's overriding commitment to maintaining secrecy around its developmental military projects distorts our modern culture in ways we cannot even begin to comprehend, at least until these secrets are revealed in some obscure report published in the 2070s. It is impossible for the public to have a productive conversation about something that is hardly even understood, and that may well be the point. Project Blue Book was created to investigate UFO sightings by the U.S. military, and it was destroyed because it did its job too well. Only time will tell if the Pentagon's new UAP task force is as sincere, and if so, whether it will be allowed to stay sincere for long. Yeah, there was a book I read recently that I really enjoyed. Whoa, Simone! I think you need to calm down. Calm down.
Meow.
I can't remember the title of it. Oh, this is gonna drive me crazy. Is it Everything is Permitted, Nothing is True? Or Nothing is True, Everything is Permitted?
Okay, the first one sounds better in terms of phrasing.
Maybe I can. Nothing is true, everything. Nope, that's not it. Oh, nothing is true, everything is possible. Yeah, this one. Nothing is true and everything is possible by Peter Pomerantsev. And it was a very weird book about like sort of disinformation campaigns within Russia since the fall of the Soviet Union. And it's just very interesting because it's more about he was a writer for reality television in Russia, and it was about how like him noticing what he could get away with, the kinds of stories he could get away with telling on Russian television, versus like what he wasn't allowed to tell, and like the things, the interesting tensions there, because it wasn't like, you know, most people think of like disinformation being like a top-down thing of just like Putin dictating what you do or something like this, but it was more just like no one knew what the truth was, so like everything was, you were permitted to say whatever you want, but then no one would trust you because everything's permitted. It's like this weird fucking like chaotic thing.
Interesting.
And because like anything is possible. It could be this. It could be this. And like once you're in that sphere, it's like, what is the truth? What can you believe? It's everything's all fucked up. And like he's sort of like it doesn't come to any firm conclusions. It's just his insights in working in reality TV in Russia and how that like fucked with his head, and he eventually had to leave. So he's I think he was born in Russia, but his parents moved to England early in his life. So then he eventually went back to Russia later in his life to do his reality TV career, like as a producer. Or not a producer, I think he just worked in some capacity. And then eventually had to leave again when it was fucking with his head. But then like the interesting twist of the book is when he gets back to England and realizes the same shit goes on here. And then he's just like... And that's kind of how it ends. It's just like, we're fucked. In terms of like our capacity to understand what is true and what's not, we're all fucked. And it's a really good book.
Hell yeah.
Hello, my rebels. Hello, my rebels. I'm a good boy. I'm a weirdo.